For many, final season is almost upon us, and there are so many methods to lock in and go ace that test, and these may look trendy or aesthetic, but what actually works? Well, today I'm taking it upon myself to try as many techniques as I can so I can give you a review on each one and decide what I'm actually going to use to try to do my best on my finals this year. So without further ado, let's start with one that has a lot of buzz around students and social media lately, called the Pomodoro Technique. The Pomodoro Technique describes a way of accomplishing deep work, but then also taking little breaks here and there. The most commonly advertised version is a 25-minute sprint where you get as much as you can done with no distractions, but then after your 25-minute timer goes off, you stand up, take a break, do whatever you want for 5 minutes. This one is cool, and I've actually tried it with several different variations on the timing in the past, but I'm not 100% sold. See, my issue with it is that I spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of each sprint just trying to get warmed back up, trying to lock back in on the work. To me, these 5-minute or 10-minute or however long you choose to take your breaks just serve as a distraction. See, once I get done with that first 25-minute session, I take out my phone for 5 minutes and I go scroll TikTok or something, and I just don't want to do work again after that. It feels like 5 minutes is just simply not enough time to enjoy not working. You can get through maybe 5 TikToks or start a YouTube video, but it really just serves to break my focus on the work itself. And then the next 25-minute session, I spend the first 5 to 10 minutes trying to warm back up into the work again. It takes me a long time to get fully immersed, so I'm not saying this won't work for you, but for me, these short breaks really only serve to break my rhythm. So for that reason, I'm gonna give this one 2 stars. The next method that we have is the Feynman technique. Now, I'd never actually heard of this one, but I tried it for the first time just the other day. Essentially what it is you're going to explain a topic or a subject that you're working on like you're talking to a 5-year-old. So I've been struggling a little bit in chemistry with the relationship between free energy and the equilibrium constant. So what I did was I went through the textbook to create an analogy so that I could explain the relationship between those two variables to a 5-year-old. And this is what I came up with. Essentially, the free energy is the current happiness of a candy split. And if it's positive, then it's a good split. If it's negative, then it's a bad split. We want to get it to 0, which would be equilibrium, which means both parties are happy with the way the candy has been split up. So now the initial state of the free energy is the initial split of candy. So if one child has 2 pieces and the other child has 0 pieces, if we want to get it back to equilibrium or 1 and 1, we're gonna pass off a piece. But depending on the value of K, or the equilibrium constant, is how many pieces it takes for you to be happy. So if you have 4 pieces of candy and one child's kind of full, they only want 1 piece, they can be happy with an equilibrium constant of one person having 3 and the other having 1. So in that case, the free energy could still equal 0 and make it at equilibrium. Both parties are happy. Hopefully, that made sense. Honestly, I probably won't be using this technique again. Maybe next time I'd explain it to my roommate instead, since he's a construction management major, but I don't know, probably 3 stars. So far, these techniques have been grounded in a lot of old research and whatnot. But something new that's been coming around a lot is AI. And I've been wondering to myself, how could I use AI to help me study? So this is the ChatGPT method. Now don't get me wrong, I'm already a big fan of AI, and it's really, really helpful in explaining certain things to me when I don't understand it and that kind of thing. I actually use it a lot when coming up with content ideas for my own personal channel. But what I've found is that how you prompt AI is actually the most important part. See, I follow this guy on Threads, and he puts out a lot of great prompts for trying to get AI to help you in creative processes. So what I decided to do was interpret this to try to find ways that AI, or ChatGPT in this case, could help me study, hence the ChatGPT method. So right now, feel free to pause your video. Here are 5 prompts that you can use to help ChatGPT help you study. I rate this as 4 stars because not only is it super easy to do, but it can be interpretable for any subject or any kind of test or quiz or exam that you have coming up that you need to study for. And it can even go further to explain topics to you that you're just not quite understanding. The only reason this isn't 5 stars is because I have run into times where ChatGPT has been wrong, but 9 times out of 10, if you just ask it to double check its work, it's gonna figure it out. Now this was like a good time to introduce myself. My name is Trenton Sandler. I am a student athlete and currently in my sophomore year of college, but despite my crammed and hectic schedule, I'm still able to manage over a 4.0 GPA. To accomplish this, I am super interested in productivity and trying to get the most done that I can in the shortest amount of time to try to become the best me that I can be. So trust me, when I get into studying methods like these, I'm speaking from the heart. All right, now we have mind mapping, and this was also my first time trying this one. It felt a little similar to the Feynman technique that I explained to a 5-year-old that we already tried, but with its own little twist. It was essentially mapping out a diagram from your mind to try to connect topics within a class. So what I did was I connected the topics from my motor learning class of the different types of performance curves we have with some examples for each curve. I mean, it's fine, pretty simple. I don't see myself coming back to this. 3 stars. Now this might be my favorite, and this probably isn't the correct name for this method. If this is even a real method, I don't know, my teammate just taught it to me, but it works, and it's called reward doping. Literally yesterday, this got me through an entire speech about personal finance in just a couple of hours. I wrote it, practiced it, and delivered it all through reward doping. It's simple. Find something you like and force yourself to earn it. For example, my mom got me these jelly beans when she was in town this weekend, and I spaced them out so that every time I would write one good point in this speech, I would take a jelly bean. And it might be kind of a battle with your mind at first about not eating all the jelly beans at once, but eventually you can kind of program yourself to see them as a reward. You do the work, you get the reward. Do more work, you get another reward. Just like a dog doing a trick for a treat. We all have that nature inside of us that just craves rewards, craves that little dopamine, and this sets it up to force you to do work to earn your reward. I'd say this is probably my favorite technique on the list because it actually makes deep work enjoyable. It doesn't knock your focus by taking breaks, and it's completely customizable to whatever class or assignment you're working on. And if you're somebody who needs to cut candy or these reward type things out of your diet, plenty of other options exist out there. Another one of my go-tos is a sparkling ice. It's got like 5 calories for an entire bottle, and you can sip on it through an entire study session. So for all of those reasons, I give this method 5 stars. Next, we have something called interleaving, and I can tell you right now, I'm not a fan. What interleaving entails is switching between one topic to another kind of constantly to avoid burnout. Like say you do 10 minutes of chemistry and then 10 minutes of physics and then 10 minutes of math. I just can't get my brain to switch that quickly. Like I said earlier, it takes me a while to really warm up and get immersed in a topic. So for that reason, I give this method 1 star. If I could give it 0, I probably would. At this point, we have talked about a lot of methods, but before we get to our final 3, let me tell you some ways that you could actually maximize these methods further than just doing the techniques themselves. Now, these few things are very important when it comes to studying and are arguably more important than the studying itself. Starting with your sleep. Don't pull an all-nighter. Your brain is actually rewiring itself to learn the information that you just picked up while you're sleeping. So you're so much better off studying for like an hour or 2 after dinner and then getting a full night of sleep before your exam the next morning than you would be if you tried to study all night. Trust me, hit the sheets at a reasonable time. Next, we have exercise. It's not only been proven to open your brain to actually help you learn, but it's also just essential for our health and our mental well-being. And it's gonna keep you fit and give you the opportunity to be a lifelong learner. Lastly, we've got nutrition. Eating healthy clears the brain, allowing you to refill it with good information. Specifically, foods like blueberries, walnuts, and dark chocolate have been proven to have cognitive benefits. Not only can these superfoods help you study, but caffeine is also a great way to leverage concentration. Just make sure that you're not interfering with your sleep by having it too late in the day. All right, we got 3 more methods, so let's grind them out. First is progressive summarization. This one was interesting to me because I had literally never heard of it. Basically what it was I wrote out a paragraph of everything that I could remember about a certain topic. So I chose my most recent physics lab on convex lenses. After writing the initial paragraph, I scrapped things that were not quite as important as the rest, leaving me with only the main ideas. So now I know that a convex lens is thicker in the middle and thinner at the edges, bends parallel rays of light, etc., etc. It made sense to me. I probably wouldn't go back to it again. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Next, I want to group a few based on the way you take notes, see if you can maximize that as well. First up, good old pencil paper writing. I'm a big advocate for this one. When I'm in class, I like to try to listen to what the professor is saying only write down the essential stuff and go back and fill in gaps later. So notes by hand, 5 stars. But on the contrary, as you could probably tell, I'm not the best at keeping this structured. So for that reason, the classic Cornell notes are only a 2-star. And then color coding, to me, this is not helpful at all. Everything is in black and white. I'm convinced that if you do this, you're only doing it for the aesthetic. It's like 1 star. Then we got using mnemonics and acronyms in your notes. To be honest, I find this one helpful when a professor gives me like the mnemonic or acronym like Tom, Dick, and Harry from anatomy, but it's not something I'd ever really go seek out on my own. So for that reason, 3 stars. And then dual coding, this is literally the whole reason that I use paper notes, so that I can switch between drawings and writings to explain the drawings. I don't see why you wouldn't do this, so for that, 5 stars. All right, now we are here to our last method, and this one I think is super underrated. It's memory palaces, also known as the method of Loki. I actually first learned about this one in psychology class last year. My professor was a big advocate for it, and essentially what it is that you're gonna remember things better if you practice them in the same environment that you play. So like it's the same reason that you've heard about football teams blasting crowd noise at practice to try to get the players used to it. If you're gonna be taking a test in a loud situation, maybe practice studying in a louder situations. So we're gonna perform better in environments that are similar to the places that we study. So like if you're sitting in class in the same seat every day, try to sit in that same seat for the exam, and something might pop into your brain that the professor said just a week ago that you wouldn't have remembered if you were sitting across the room. Or if you know that the testing center is gonna be really quiet, make sure you've practiced studying in a really quiet area. Music might mess with your flow. And then although she might have been joking, my professor took it even as far to say that if you're impaired when you're studying, you might want to take the test in the same headspace. I'm gonna stay away from that one though. The point is, practice is best replicated in a predictable environment, so learn your environment and study accordingly. For me, this method, because you can mix it with all the other methods to increase your chances of doing well in the exam, gets 5 stars. And speaking of those other methods, let's go back over my favorites. Out of all the methods that I tested, the ones that I will refer back to time and time again are obviously the classics when I can remember: active recall, spaced repetition, flashcards, but also some new age stuff like prompting ChatGPT with those 5 prompts that I showed you, and then merging these 4-star methods with other 5-star methods like reward doping or memory palaces, the method of Loki, trying to practice the way I play. Now, my finals are the first week of May. Let us know when yours are in the comments and when you plan to start studying. Maybe you can find an accountability partner somewhere in there as well. As always, be sure to subscribe to Declassified College to get you the best tips to help you survive these 4 years or more for many of us. And you can find more videos from me in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.